get down to the fresh business week with Business Morning live here on Channels Television. Hello, everyone, and welcome back from the weekend. I am boosting them off. I welcome our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. Okay, let's now get on with the story you may have heard about, but this is how it's going. Nigeria's Federal Inland Revenue Services is going after the Billionaires Club. What's the details? Well, the FRS Chief Babatunde Fowler says it's going after billionaire tax defaulters and looking to raise Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio by 2020. That will be by 20% by the end of 2018. And if you're already in the news, you hear what the FRS says. The agency has analyzed about 23 banks with about 20,000 accounts in those banks, and now targeting 6,770 billionaires, including companies, who are yet to pay tax to the authorities. And now the FRS is going to use bank data, this data sourced from the banks, to carry out what you call substitution on accounts for such companies and individuals. So what will Babatunde Fowler and his team do? Substitution means that the banks will now be empowered to become tax collectors or tax agents for the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Now you've got another layer of tax collectors. Fowler says persons or companies with 1 billion to 5 billion naira in their bank accounts, some of these size have no taxpayer identification number, what you call a TIN, and some do have the tax identification number, but never filed tax returns. So the FRS is going after companies that have between 1 billion and 5 billion naira in their accounts, and they have no tax identification number, or they have the number, but they're yet to pay taxes. Fowler says these bank accounts will be frozen or put under substitution until the account owners step forward for tax payment. So here we go with what you call freeze. 2 years ago, if you remember, the Central Bank of Nigeria directed banks to freeze the bank accounts considered dubious and being used for illegal forex transactions. And almost immediately, the federal government also initiated moves to freeze bank accounts of individuals and corporate with no biometric certification and other details. So the freezing is still ongoing. Now the taxman has found another clever way to get at those who are evading tax. And that's what you call the Billionaires Club. Meantime, the FRS says is introducing new initiatives which will raise the country's, Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio by 20% before the end of 2018 financial period. So Fowler told state tax administrators that the nation rely on us to provide it with adequate funds with which to fund its development objectives. And that's what he told his colleagues over the weekend. Let's move on to the oil and gas industry, where the Bank of Industry says it has signed $500 million facility deal with China to support Nigeria's plans to set up modular refineries in the oil-rich Niger Delta. BoI says funding to finance purchase of equipment and machinery from China by investors and project owners of the planned refineries. BoI says they are delighted to begin the next chapter of this long-term trading relationship with China through its Exim Bank. Nigeria has issued 25 licenses to firms and individuals who are interested in modular refinery business. So what's going to start this week? We have the insurance firms who will have this week to submit a board of directors resolution on class of business to undertake under the new reclassification policy. That will be on the 14th. That's technically on Friday. Meantime, the regulator says it will release guidelines for the implementation of the new reform agenda also this week. And then we'll get in the month started in earnest. Meantime, details of the new guidelines will be published in some national dailies and some broadcast platforms. And this morning, news came in that ICO Insurance PLC has gotten the nod of the sector regulator, NICOM, to underwrite agriculture business across the sector's value chain. ICO says his competitive edge and expertise based on understanding farmers' needs made the NICOM's regulators' approval necessary. And that's the story there for you. Of course, remember, ICO Insurance is asking shareholders to approve a new special capital raising of 25 billion. That meeting is still ahead on our calendar. What's also on tap? We have the August inflation. We expect that between now and Friday, and the CPI report from Bureau of Statistics. Meantime, FDC Limited, that's Financial Derivatives Company, is forecasting headline figure to 11.15%. FDC says August will be the end of the 18th month of consistent decline in the headline inflation index for Nigeria, but month-on-month inflation forecast will trim to 0.98% when the report is out. That's the forecast. FDC says the higher August inflation will restrain the MPC from reducing interest rates at the next meeting on September 24th and 25. We have that on our calendar as well. 2 weeks from now, keep that there, mark it out. You can see that. Meantime, the Abuja Chief Magistrate has dismissed all applications brought before the court by BGL PLC and its subsidiaries objecting to their trial by the court. A definite hearing date of the case brought by SEC against BGL PLC has now been fixed by the magistrate for October the 2nd. The magistrate says the matter before her is a criminal one, while the one before the Federal High Court is a civil case while throwing out BGL objections. BGL and its officials were charged before the Abuja Chief Magistrate on allegations of criminal conspiracy, breach of trust, and cheating, according to a statement released over the weekend by the Securities and Exchange Commission. On that note, we go straight to the stock exchange, where Temple Ashaju, Channels TV business correspondent, is